Good morning. Welcome to a brand new week. This is RN Bhaskar from BKBB, which is an acronym for Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. We bring to you policy analysis, stories, and conversations. But right now, we are talking about news behind the news. And we have some very important developments today. And with me is my co-anchor, Anurag. Anurag is here. Thank you very much for being here. And the titles that we will talk about today are given on the screen. The first is, of course, about the bombing of Iran and what it means for the world and for India. The second is on Amazon tying up with an Indian company to get into the diagnostic sector, which is a very profitable sector. And the third one is the inevitable increase of gold and oil. And yes, let me remind you to click the subscribe button, click the like button, and most important, tell all your friends about us. Today is a very important piece of news, and tell your friends to watch this because we are going to talk about things that much of Indian media has not covered. Let's take the first story. The US, in a brazen act, which is patently illegal and against the UN Charter, bombed 3 nuclear sites of Iran. And as a decoy, they sent planes out from the west coast, and then quietly, before that itself, they sent the planes all the way from the east coast into Iran. Again, to distract, they sent cruise missiles from a submarine so that everyone would look in that direction, and these bombers came in. They were stealth bombers, and they dropped the largest ever bombs. But that became a joke. While the US triumphantly said we have removed the nuclear facilities of Iran, he possibly did not even know that Natanz and Isfahan had removed all nuclear centrifuges almost a year ago. They were outdated centrifuges and they were empty fields. And Natanz is bombed for a second time. As far as Fodor, the bombs would not have done anything to it because it's 400 meters down the ground, and the bombs that Trump had used were just capable of penetrating about 50 meters maximum. But they used several bombs, and only the west side door was damaged. The hall remained intact, and other facilities remained intact. But the biggest joke was that just recently, Iran had moved all the centrifuges and the enriched uranium to other undisclosed sites because it knew the IAEA had already sent out all details to Israel and to America. Effectively, this became a joke, but it raises very serious questions. Can a country attack any other country without the permission of the Congress? At least that's a US law. And this morning you should watch Judge Napolitano and Scott Ritter. Judge Napolitano is a former judge, and Scott Ritter is a former UN weapons inspector, and what they have to say about this. They pointed, 1, Trump acted without consulting his Congress. B, it acted against the Charter of the United States, and right now the UN Security Council is discussing this gross illegal violation of the UN Charter. And 3, US was disdainful that when it bombs a nuclear site, the radiation fallout would be tremendous. It would destroy even all the neighboring countries. Irresponsible is the only word I can use. And what was worse is that US goes back and triumphantly declared, we have removed the facilities. Iran has said it will attack in its own way at the right time. And right now, the outcome of the UN Security Council will be critically important. What Trump has done is dangerous for the world, for international law, and for respect for humanity. After protecting a country which is responsible for genocide and ethnic cleansing, Trump is willing to do genocide himself by bombing a nuclear site. And that's the end of my story today. And now we have Anurag talking about Amazon.
Good morning. Amazon has entered India's 15 billion diagnostic market, launching Amazon Diagnostic in partnership with Orange Health Labs. It promises to offer at home a sample collection within 60 minutes and digital reports in under 6 hours. Initially, the service covers more than 450 pin codes across six major cities: Bangalore, Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, Mumbai, and Hyderabad. Now, let's look behind the news. First, this move integrates Amazon's existing pharmacy and clinic services under Amazon Medical, creating an end-to-end digital healthcare ecosystem. Second, it targets a diagnostic market dominated by unorganized players that hold 75% share, where organized labs like Thyrocare and Metropolis hold just 15%. Characterized by a large number of unorganized players, the industry saw a steady 8% CAGR over the last 5 years and touched around $12 billion in the financial year of 2024. While the operation currently limited to Tier 1 cities, the real opportunity lies in Tier 2 and Tier 3 markets. These regions are growing at 25% annually, faster than metros, and already contribute 40% of diagnostic revenues. Amazon's model could expand here with its logistics groundwork laid by its vastly adopted e-commerce, and especially with rising AI adoption in diagnostics, now projected to triple the market size to $44 million by 2030. However, challenge remains. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities face infrastructural gaps and data privacy concerns, with healthcare cyber attacks exceeding 1.9 million incidents in 2022 alone. Will Amazon's entry accelerate solutions for these barriers or deepen urban rural healthcare divides? What's your take on this, sir?
You are absolutely right, Anurag. It's a fabulous strategy for a market that urgently needs this. Unorganized players have various standards, have various charges, and various practices. When a large player, Amazon, with its huge retail clout, gets into this business with a bricks and mortar player, expect things to change in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. The market's large. It may not affect Thyrocare and the likes of Metropolitan, but it will definitely change the market in the second tier, third tier cities, and maybe even villages. Let's see. Thank you, Anurag. Great story, wonderful insight. And now we go to the third story, which has also a lot to do with the US and the conflicts in the Middle East. The US dollar has been slipping. Just a week ago, the US struggled to get its $22 trillion in treasury bills sold in the market. It's still struggling. Second, when Asia dumped its dollars in the market and China dumped another 1.25 trillion, the US dollar slipped 9%. Already, many of the transactions that were dollar based are now switching over to the Chinese system, which allows countries to buy their own currency. And China's created a payment system which costs a fraction of what the SWIFT charges. The time taken is less, it's just less than a few seconds. And the cost is phenomenally less. It's only a matter of time. China's system will overtake SWIFT, which means the US dollar will fall even further. When currencies fall, gold goes up. And predictably, gold prices are going up, as the chart will tell you. But there's a second factor. After US bombed Iran at 3 sites, and the sites were a joke because the sites did not have anything in them. The sites were a joke because 2 of them had already shifted everything, and Fodor had shifted everything just recently. As a result, Yemen got in the picture and said, we are entering the war. We are not going to allow any ships to pass through this passage next to our country. And Israel and Iran has said that they are considering blocking the whole of the Hormuz Strait, effectively blocking the movement of oil. And the most affected will be the Western countries because they have no pipeline with the Middle East. Russia has a pipeline into China. Iran has a pipeline into China. The US has none, and half the oil fields belong to the US. Effectively, the US is going to be hurt like never before. And expect oil prices to go up even further if the two straits are blocked. Oil prices could climb beyond $100 a barrel. We are living in uncertain times, and the US has just made the world a little more uncertain than ever before. It's frightening, and someone must restrain these two irresponsible players on the global scene. Thanks for watching. And now let me go to the questions that have started coming in. The first question is, with so many players who are already into the nuclear business, US, Russia, Korea, Pakistan, China, and Israel. Oh yes, Israel is there. Does this mean that they can also be victims? Yes, they can be. But the advantage of being a nuclear power is that's a good deterrence. Nobody attacks you, which is why Iran has been toying with enriching uranium, but not going into weapons. Korea, you must remember, signed out of the NPT, Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. And because it was not a signatory to the NPT, it could prepare its own nuclear devices. Iran is a signatory. And after today's attack, expect Iran, it's a possibility, to exit the NPT and say, I'm not open to any inspections or any controls. The US has made the world a more dangerous place. Let's take the second question. With Amazon entering the market, what about big players like PharmEasy and the Tata portal, which also is also into pharmacy? The market's fast. When I mentioned ThyroCare and Metropolitan, they were just examples. All the people in the organized sector can coexist with an Amazon, which is looking more towards the second tier and the third tier cities. And that is where the need is the greatest. Because where the greatest irresponsibility, malpractices, and differential pricing works. Amazon's move is good for India. If you want to get Medicare really meaningful in a country like India, you have to get into diagnostics first. Diagnosis is the first step towards identifying a disease. Cure comes later. It's a good move. And the third one, it's a question that I normally don't answer, and I won't answer even now. Should I invest in gold? No. Don't ask me. I can't tell you. Is oil going to go up? Maybe. If the two straits are blocked, yes, they will. There's no choice. All of a sudden, China, Russia, and Iran are converging. China has made it clear that it will support Iran. So has Russia. And now America has hemmed itself in a corner where Trump is going to be questioned by his own congressmen how he could take this action without consulting his own Congress. Dangerous times, difficult times ahead. Keep watching this space. We will come to you with further analysis, with further insights, and have a great day ahead and a wonderful week ahead, even though the world has become more uncertain than ever before. Take care. Good luck.